I have to bring it back to Kendrick. I think that Jason Isbell Southeastern album is probably number one for me in the past 15 years for sure, and I think To Pimp a Butterfly is number two.
I have opinions about To Pimp a Butterfly. It's not my thing because I just couldn't. There was nothing I could really grasp from it that like felt impactful to me. You know? And I think that goes kind of back to like the whole like having a say in the black culture and like how impactful it is. Like,
I wanted you to finish that point.
Yeah,
for sure.
So I don't feel like it's my place. Like I, as an observer from the outside, I can be like, oh, this is a great album, but I can't call an album that's like, you know, just from what I've seen and heard from people, like on Twitter and like hip hop Twitter, who are like, it is a very impactful album if you are like from that area, if you grew up with that struggle, if you're able to really relate. I can't relate to it. You know, it's like there's a few good songs on there that I was like, this is some good stuff, right? But I can't rank it as like, it just wasn't my cup of tea. Like it wasn't like,
Got you.
Yeah. So
I understand the argument. This is gonna get real specific. I understand the argument when people say like you can't comment on certain things because that's not your place. You don't understand that struggle.
Yeah.
I get that 100%, and I agree with that if I'm talking to an individual person about their struggle. However, I do think that if you're gonna analyze society or in general, culture, I do think that as a spectator, the way that you view said culture in whatever way, shape, or form is pretty valuable. And this is what I would say. I wouldn't say, as a student of music, because I'm a musician, I put music out, you know. As a student of music, I'm not white, right? I'm not white at all. I don't relate to that struggle. I don't relate to that perspective. However, I can't deny without a doubt that Nirvana album that came out in the early 90s was a huge cultural moment for white people or teenage angst.
Yeah.
In that part of the world, and it took over the world. I mean, in that part of the country, it took over the world, right? I can make an analyzation based on that album and based on how we view the 90s now, that Kurt Cobain, even though I don't like him, I can make the statement that Kurt Cobain was an extremely important voice for teenagers, especially white teenagers, in that struggle, that were like that viewed themselves in him, right? And even though I don't share that perspective, I can say there's no doubt that he was in some way, shape, or form emblematic of that perspective. In the same way that I would say when Pure Heroin came out by Lorde, right? That album is not for me. That album wasn't made for me. It wasn't even made for guys. It was made for like teenage girls at the time when Royals came out and they were fucking stealing necklaces from rich people's houses in that song, which is what the song talks about. Yeah. Like they were talking about suburban girls that aren't rich but aren't necessarily poor, but that want to like while out on the weekend by pretending to be rich.
Yeah.
And it was like a very specific aesthetic. She fucking killed that album. And I think that album represented teenage angst so well that I can make a comment about how she was very emblematic of that specific perspective and knocked it out of the park so well that it became the soundtrack to not only people's lives, but to the decade. To the teenagers that were in that decade, right? It's part of the reason why people won't let Michael Jackson's music ever get topped by anybody, because the people that are very like ardent about that, they'll be like, no, you just weren't there. You weren't there in the 80s and how it dominated our life and how it became he became the emblematic like stature of what we were feeling, right? And I feel that way about Kendrick. I agree with you that he's rapping and he's making music about a specific thing, about a specific perspective and culture. But I've been around, I'm American, and I've been around underground culture enough and I've seen the way black people have treated. I know American history enough to know that To Pimp a Butterfly is a culmination of a young man's, a culmination of a young black man's angst about the way that he sees himself in the world and the inconsistencies of American culture and the way that it reciprocates to him. So I can make that analyzation, and I can say like that he hit that out of the park so well that To Pimp a Butterfly, and even what it stands for, just that name, like even of itself, is so rich in it as a perspective of black males, American culture, that I think in 30, 40, 50 years, people are going to look back to that album and they're going to, like how they look back at Marvin Gaye's Let's Get It On, or how they look back to Martin Luther King's speech and they say things like, fuck, like this man was on some shit. Yeah. He was speaking about a very specific, perspective. And I can without a doubt see that, even though I don't belong to it.
No,
does that make sense?
Yeah, and I agree with that whole sentiment. I agree with like every bit of that. What I was more so saying was just like, I can't call it a bad album.
Sure.
Because it is impactful. Like, I mean, like Kendrick's music and his like everything is being studied in colleges. Like there's like Harvard professors who are coming out and talking about his music. Like you can't deny like the impact he has. Like I can't think of any other like modern rapper or artists in general whose music is getting studied like this. I mean, like, for sure.
Nas, maybe?
Yeah.
Nas is probably a good one.
For sure.
Because he was the Kendrick before Kendrick.
But I can't, like, but I publicly or just, like, can't, like, bring it to myself to be like, I don't like that album. Like, it's a great album. I like that album.
I understand what you're saying.
Yeah. But I just not, like, it just wasn't for me. Like, I just, and I think that's fine. Like, when you compare it to, like, other genres, like, there's no like white artists talking about the white struggle, unless we're talking about like country artists talking about small towns, which like not a lot of them are like actually like.
And even that feels like so formulaic and corny that it doesn't resonate well.
Yeah. So, but also it's like, I think hip hop Twitter is so they're so kind of set on like narratives about like music and stuff like that I stay away from it, because I'm just like, I don't, I'm just an outsider enjoying, like during the beef I was just like, I'm just enjoying this as like a spectator, like this is dope. Until it got messy, and then I was just like, all right bro, like I'm kind of checked out, like when Drake dropped his last song I was just like, all right bro, like I'm done, like I'm kind of like worn out. But you still do you have Kendrick as the winner? Or are you just not labeling a winner because it makes you feel icky? No, it doesn't make me feel icky. Icky's a funny word as a grown man.
Or it makes you feel like it makes you feel like weird about like picking a winner when the allegations are serious.
Yeah, and neither side has proven anything right, but no, I think there is a clear like winner for the culture, and that's Kendrick. Like everyone is saying the same thing about Drake, is that he is he robs from different artists, he takes from different cultures, like he's all these things or whatever. And who had the audience swayed the most was Kendrick
for sure, right?
Not Like Us is a fucking
bro.
Amazing
You're
song.
not gonna stop hearing that this summer,
bro. I've been replaying. That's all I've been listening to. Like legit, like
bro.
That and Family Matters has been the only two songs I've been replaying at the gym.
Like, I think. Oh, sorry. This will be the last thing I say about the beef, because we could just we could talk about other shit, but I can't wait to be on the lake. And Not Like Us come out. It's gonna be fire, bro. So I can't wait for that. But I think Euphoria is my favorite.
Euphoria?
Because I think that like when I listen back to Euphoria, I'm like, bro, this was prophetic. Like I'm I make music that electrify him. You make music that pacify him. I could double down on that line, but I'll spare you. That's a random act of kindness. Yeah. Like then you get to not like us and be like, he warned you, dog. Yeah. He told you not to go, not to. He was being kind with you, and he warned you, and you still went for it.
Here's my thing about what he said in the song as well was like, he quoted, he was like, you're gonna take stories from Mr. Morale and try to spin him as truth. You're a liar, you're this, you're that.
Oh, he like laid it out.
But here's the thing is that like that's already kind of setting up, like this was not a win situation for Drake, because already people rank Kendrick as
the better lyricist.
Right?